Wonderful. Well, hopefully there's no itch. Wonderful, wonderful. Beautiful. Yeah. They live up north? Yeah. Uh-huh. Yeah. Just don't know. It's easy. Okay. Well, I wasn't going to say anything about it. Nothing I wouldn't say in front of everybody else. Well, hopefully we'll make that.
Okay. Are we ready, everybody? I figure if they will join us if they come in. Okay. Staff, everybody ready? We're good? Okay. Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board meeting of Wednesday.
Can hear you.
I'm sorry. It's on. And I was about to give my speech on everybody speaking into the microphone. Thank you.
Test, test, test.
Okay, is this better? Thank you. Again, I'd like to call to order the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board meeting of Wednesday, October 18th. The time is 6:06. If the code officer would please call the roll.
Janie Anderson.
Here.
Dale Blayton,
Here.
Rodolfo Barrientos. Absent. Judy Hamelbert. Michael Lanat. Absent.
And on staff, we have.
Doreen Grant,
Yes.
Rafael Gutierrez,
Yes.
and myself, Luciano Nipson.
Good evening again. This is a meeting of the Village of Biscayne Park Code Compliance Board. The board is authorized pursuant to Chapter 14 of the village's Land Development Code to ensure compliance with the village's Code of Ordinances. The members of the board are citizens and residents of the Village of Biscayne Park. We volunteer our time and are not paid for our services. The purpose of each hearing is to give any alleged violators the opportunity to contest the decision of the code compliance officer, which resulted in the issuance of a notice of violation, and to determine whether a violation of the village's code has occurred or is occurring. We are not authorized to dismiss violations based on hardships, ignorance, or the fact that others may be guilty of the same violation. These hearings are conducted in a quasi-judicial manner. Our responsibility is to act much like a judge in a court, and that is to hear cases presented by the village's code compliance officers and to hear contradictory arguments presented by the alleged violators. We are not authorized to change the code. The Village Commission is solely authorized to enact or revise codes. Conversely, neither the commission nor the village manager have the authority to overrule the findings of the board. Pursuant to Chapter 162 of the Florida statutes, orders of the board can only be appealed to the Circuit Court of Miami-Dade County. We have the authority to assess and order the payment of civil penalties, to issue orders having the force of law, to command whatever steps are necessary to bring a violation into compliance, and to assess administrative costs. In order to make a finding upholding the code compliance officer's decision, we must find that there is substantial competent evidence that the named violator was responsible for a violation of the relevant section of the code as charged. All documentary evidence presented by the parties must be submitted for placement in the hearing file. No documentary evidence will be considered unless the alleged violator or code compliance officer submits a copy for the hearing file. Each party shall have the right to call and examine witnesses, to introduce exhibits, to cross-examine opposing witnesses on any matter relevant to the issues, even though that matter was not covered in the direct examination, to impeach any witnesses regardless of which party first called them to testify, and to rebut the evidence against them. If you intend to address the board and have not signed in, please do so and sign in by your case. Anyone wishing to address the board, please stand and raise your right hand so you may be sworn in. You are reminded that this board is a quasi-judicial board and giving false testimony can be penalized. Okay, do we have any additions, withdrawals, deletions, changes?
Yes, we do have some changes on 7F in description. Change room to property.
7F. And the correction?
The correction would be changing the room to property.
And that would be on the notice to appear. And on the order of enforcement. Okay. Got that one.
Okay, our second change would be in discussions. That would be number 9. We're changing 1515.15.27 to
In discussions?
in discussions. Number 9.
Moved it, unfortunately. That's okay. Tell me what it is.
At Florida state statute, it should read 515.27. It's 515.27.
Uh, 515.27,
That is correct.
one up. I would like to add 2 discussion items, if I may. One is just both of them brief, just a discussion on how the homesteaded properties that are showing up on, that are being rented, excuse me, how that's being handled. And also just a short discussion on our fine reduction procedure. And a reminder to everyone, me at the head of the class, it's so critical that we speak loudly and that we talk directly into these microphones because they do not pick up anything from the side. And it makes it tough for the administrator to compose minutes or even to compose the orders of enforcement without being able to hear clear audio. And as I said, I'm at the head of the class, I have to remind myself. Okay, I believe. Oh, minutes. Has everyone, actually with 2 members missing, I'm thinking, unless everybody's had time to read the minutes, have you?
I perused most of them. I thought they were fine, but if you want to postpone it.
Well,
that's fine.
at the very least, I'd like to save them then till the end of tonight's meeting because I have a significant amount of corrections and I don't think it's fair for these folks.
Yeah.
So would anybody have an objection if we move the minutes discussion to the end of business so that these good people do not have to sit here and listen?
Madam Chair, will you make a motion for the absences?
You want to make a motion for that?
I'm sorry. I make a motion that we move the minutes of September 20th to the end of the meeting, which would make it after our last case. To make it item. Yeah, item 8. Okay.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 3-0. Okay, I believe we are ready with our first. Oh, let's do that at the end of the meeting in case they show. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you for that reminder. Code officer is ready for their first case.
Our first case, 7B,
D as in boy or D as in David?
B as in boy. That is 821 Northeast 120th Street, case number CEN -23-303, BP 120 LLC. Violation, chapter 16.9, roof repair or re-roof, permit required. On August 10th, 2023, roof was in disrepair, caved in, a safety hazard. Status, non-compliant, no permits were issued. And we would ask the board to take an order of enforcement on this.
Questions?
Am I able to address the board?
Just a second, sir. We do need to have our time
Okay.
to ask questions. And when you do come up, when you are speaking, I need everyone to identify themselves and their relationship to the property. Questions from board members. Judy, why don't you move over one? That sun's got to be killing you.
Basically, my question was, has there been a construction fence
Yeah.
installed? And was there an after the fact?
Yes, a construction fence was installed.
Okay.
But
And that was with an after the fact permit?
that was without the permit.
But have they gotten the after the fact permit yet?
No, they have not.
And I was told the permit was filed, so by the people that installed the fence.
I'm sorry, sir. If you need to pull the mic up or pull it off the stand, that's cool, but so has there even been a permit application?
No, there has been no permit application in the system. So this property, these cases were not heard, but there was a buyer, an interested buyer that came to the last previous hearing. And the board had requested that he at least puts a fence around to
Right.
secure the property.
And-
He has complied on that. They have secured the property now.
But we also said to apply for the after the fact permit.
Absolutely, and that hasn't been done yet.
So he's not in compliance then.
No.
Okay.
I didn't know my name's Carl Linder. I'm the manager of BP 120 LLC. I bought this property 2 years ago. At the time I bought the property, I submitted a full set of pictures related to the collapsed roof, which I guess I'll have to submit for the record. But I was in touch with the village back then, and I asked for a demolition permit, and it was refused based on the fact that the code had changed. And if I didn't submit plans, I couldn't demolish the house.
But-
I had a contract in hand for demolition, and
That's
that was rejected.
that issue. The issue we're dealing with now is that the order that was given was not just that the construction fence had to be put up, that there had to be the after the fact permit obtained. So
I was told that was filed. If it wasn't, I'll take care of it tomorrow. I mean, I was out of town. I was not available. I didn't even attend the hearing. I heard from the potential buyer who contracted with me and backed out of the contract due to the FPL poles blocking the entrance to the property, which is another issue I'm dealing with right now with FPL. To get those poles moved, they just quoted me $36,000. So there's a lot going on. The property's for sale. I'd like to sell the property. And
I understand that, but safety is paramount and a fence to be put up.
I just spent $6,000 on a fence that,
Sure. For a fence to be put up without being properly permitted and inspected, particularly since we're still in the middle of hurricane season, is a safety issue. That's why it's not in compliance if that second half
understand.
equation wasn't done.
okay, can I have a week to get my permit finished, completed? After the fact?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
We're still dealing with.
I bought this property in the same position it's in today. I tried to deal with it. I was rejected.
It was 2 years ago.
That was 2 years ago, right? Now the cost of construction is much higher. Also, the poles are blocking our ability to build what we anticipated we'd be able to build. So it's just become a big problem, this property. And I'm sure from Ms. Grant telling me that there was many other violations on the property from the prior owner, which I had no knowledge about. I wish I did. I probably wouldn't have purchased this property to begin with.
Let the record show that board member Rodolfo Barrientos is now in the meeting at 6:22.
Noted.
Any questions?
No.
No, I'd ask my one question. If permitted.
What?
Um,
I believe we're ready for a motion.
I'd like to submit some photos of the property, current photos.
Are we going to go case by case or will you rule on the overall property? Because there are several cases.
Probably for simplicity, we should do it case by case.
Okay, so we just did the roof repair, the roof that has caved in.
Okay.
If there are no other questions, I'd like to make a motion on case number CEN 23-303 that the property is in partial partial compliance, thank you. The defense has been installed, after the fact permit has yet to be obtained. So that's in violation, assess a $250 fine and direct the and
I wasn't even in town. I wish I
I'm not
was.
finished. To obtain a
I didn't-
permit by
November 1st.
November the 1st, if not, a $250 fine thereafter per day.
And you'll waive the fine if I get it completed by that time, the $250?
No,
No,
sir.
sir.
No.
fine is for it not being in compliance today, because there was a deadline of October 4th.
Right,
So the
okay.
fine will not be waived, sir.
Well, the fence was in by the 4th.
It was not permitted, sir. We've been down this road.
Two separate things. You gotta
Right.
have a
Okay.
permit to put the fence up.
Right.
Fence was put up, we acknowledge that. Great. We don't know if it was put up according to code. That's why you need an after the fact permit now.
Okay.
Once that's obtained, if it's done by the 1st, then you'd have no, there will be no daily fine. If not, a daily fine will start to accrue thereafter.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0.
Judy was the second.
Judy said.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Our next case, 7C, 821 Northeast 120th Street. Case number CEN -23-304. PB 120 LLC. Violation, chapter 16.13, exterior painting. Permit required. On August 11th, 2023, exterior walls in disrepair without discolored paint. Status, non-compliant. At this time, we're asking the board to issue an order of enforcement.
I would have felt very differently about, like Doreen, you made the good point, take all the cases together. Had this gone through with the sale and we would be dealing with a package, a big package, but right now I'm getting the impression of this property continuing to linger in limbo. So that's my reasoning why I'd rather kind of see each one of them separately, because we don't have a deal with at this point. So questions?
No questions, just a comment. Basically, if there had been if there's something filed with the village, I guess there is a question. Is there anything on file with the village that the property is either being renovated? There's a permit, submitted for any type of renovation or work to be done?
No, none.
Putting up the construction.
No permits applied for. I had communicated with Carl and explained to him that if he at least attended the planning and zoning board and explained to them or present to them what he plans to do with the property, I would at least bring that to the board and put it on the record. So he did attend one of the meetings, but he didn't present anything at that meeting. I think he discussed.
I was not
I-
prepared for that meeting,
Right.
honestly.
But I had communicated to him at
I
least
did come to
what
the meeting.
steps he needed to take. As of today, we don't have any permits in the system. We don't have a plan presented to the village for that property. It's derelict as it's.
I did submit a painting permit that I achieved and I got. The notice says the exterior wall needs to be painted. I had a painter come out, paint the exterior wall in the back in the alley, thinking that's what the notice was about. I called the village multiple times. I spoke to Raphael. I spoke to Miss Grant. I asked for clarity on what was required because it just says exterior wall. So we painted the back wall. That's been painted.
Was that since August the 10th of 2020? Because if you could maybe share the photos with the property owner.
That back wall was black. Now it's white.
I'm just looking at a lot of mold and mildew and.
That's all
Right.
gone.
So because this property is so far deep in from the main street, you can't see it from the main street. You can only see it from the alley. So what he did was paint the wall that faces the alley and left the other sides unpainted. The whole property, the whole building needs to be painted.
I mean,
So-
it's a tear down. The property is a tear down.
Well, that's where this comes in.
Oh, there's no proof that it's a tear down, sir. You have
You
not submitted plans, therefore you do.
But
not
the
have
roof
a-
is missing.
You have not submitted plans. You have not been able to obtain a demo permit because you have not submitted plans.
Right.
So you're asking us to sort of live in this limbo.
No,
with
I'm
this
saying I
property.
complied with the notice. How did I not comply? It says exterior wall. We got the permit. We painted the exterior wall that was damaged.
All the walls.
There's no clarity on this.
All the walls.
I
on the
called and asked.
exterior.
I could not get a response on that issue. It's not fair. I called the city, the village multiple times and tried to get clarity on this.
Has the permit been finalized?
Well,
Yes, he has.
so
Uh,
he used an approved color, so he didn't need an inspector to go out there. However, like I say, he painted one side of the wall and it's the smaller part of the wall. It's a huge building. The sides are not painted. So.
You just said you
We
can't,
could clearly see it. from
can't see the property from the street, only the back alley.
Right,
So that's why I assume the wall, it should say walls, plural, should say whole house in the order.
But how do you choose the back wall if we only said wall? So why didn't you do the
Because
side?
that was the one that was damaged. The other walls don't look like the back wall looked,
They're very mildewed. You can see in the pictures.
not like it was in the back.
Um,
I mean, again, I can repaint the whole house if it's required.
that,
This one, Victoria.
That is the
August
alley.
the 10th. Okay.
This wall, and then the rest of it is not painted.
And now the construction fence is up and you can't even see the house at all. I mean, I'm spending a lot of money on something that's really not, it's not a feasible asset.
So when we issued the violation, it was a broken chain link fence, so we could see the violations. And as code officers, when we get to a property, we see we observe the violations. We have to issue for every violation that we see. We can't choose and pick which violation to issue.
And the chain link fence, there was no fence there. I have the pictures of the day I bought the property. There was no chain link fence.
Right
So
now, we're just dealing with the painting. Make a motion. We ready for a motion?
I'd like to hear a motion because I have. After the motion. If somebody wants to make.
I mean, I think that the board should consider the language in the notice that was sent out to us. And it says exterior wall in disrepair with discolored paint. The back wall was the discolored wall. The other walls do not look like the back wall looked.
I'm looking at this back wall and I'm looking at the side wall that has the electrical, panel and the pipe going up.
Yeah.
And I can see from here, from August the 10th, that it's discolored. You know, I was trying to, I guess my issue is if this has been going on, when was the permit actually pulled and
August for the paint.
right
In
after?
Yeah,
August.
and we painted the
So-
next day,
I did communicate with him and told him you've only done the back wall. You need to paint.
right after, right.
And
correct.
So
So
today is October 18th. There was enough time for this wall to be painted.
August, September, October. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion. Or were you going to?
What I was gonna say is, okay, he is in partial compliance. What I'd like to do is have us set a date, no fine at this moment,
Right.
have us set a date for full compliance. If he does not comply, then take in the 250 daily.
I was getting ready to make a motion similar to that because of its partial compliance, the permit was pulled in
Right.
August.
You know, I can quite honestly understand, semantics, sometimes things get lost.
Thank you.
Okay, in case number CEN 23-304, a violation did occur. There is partial compliance. I would give the property owner until November 1st to completely paint the remaining walls. And if not in compliance, a $250 daily fine commencing on November 2nd.
Thank you.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Thank you.
Okay, next case.
Our next case, 7D 821 Northeast 120th Street, case number CEN 23-305, BP 120 LLC. Violation chapter 16.6, fences, wall and hedge. On August 11th, 2023, chain link fence in the rear of the property is in disrepair. Status, partial compliance. The fence was erected. There has not been obtained an after the fact permits.
This says order to close the case.
Yes,
Compliance achieved.
and the reason,
Finish.
Oh.
yeah.
Present the case.
The reason we are asking for,
Then-
right, the reason we are asking for this case to be closed is because it's overlapping into the other case for the roof for safety. Since they've put a safety fence, this case becomes irrelevant.
See, there's enough else going on. I think we can just close this case.
That's basically what I thought
Yeah.
the village was presenting was a request. to
Yes.
close. I'd like to make a motion in CEN 23-305 that on the recommendation of the village that we close the case.
I'll
I'll
second.
se-
Go ahead, Judy.
I'll second that.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Our next case, 7E 821 Northeast 120th Street, case number CEN 23-306, BP 120 LLC. Violation section 8.4.9, declaration of nuisance and menace. On August 11th, 2023, property was completely overgrown. Status compliant. We're asking the board to order an order of enforcement.
This case is now in compliance. We ask the board to close this case. They are in compliance. We did pass out the compliance pictures.
Okay. This is another one you're advocating.
Yes.
That's correct.
Case number CEN dash.
Nope.
Case number CEN 23-306, the recommendations of the village and the documentation that their properties in compliance, request the case be closed.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
I appreciate all your time. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Who was second, Janie? You seconded this motion? Thank you.
Our next case, 8F as in Fox. 1045 Northeast 120th Street, case number CEN 23-269. Maria Alagro. Violation chapter 19.1.3, license required. On March 24th, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license/permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license application on record for short-term or long-term rental. Fine of $1,000 remains unpaid as the date of this notice. Status non-compliant. At this time, we're asking the board to order to impose a lien.
Question of the hour. Room or home? Thank you. Question of the hour is it a room or a home that's being rented? What does the city's documentation show?
The listing says a private room.
I see.
Room in host, yeah, it's a room being hosted. So that's another correction we would like to make. If make that correction. And then I have a whole question to the board on this one, because we've had this issue in the past, where the ordinance says one thing and the state statute says a different thing. So for all those that are renting rooms, that includes we have another case here.
Right.
I'm asking the board to dismiss all these cases until we get clarity. The ordinance for the village says one thing, and I'll pass out some information for the board. And then the state statute says something different with regards to renting a room. So the violations that we issued for renting rooms, I'm asking that we dismiss them. I would not like to make I would not like for them to pay $1,000. And then it turns out that we were wrong.
Because the problem being state statute, the city requires that state public housing license as part of the city's licensing agreement. Problem is the state does not define a hosted room as public lodging. So they can't get that license, and we need, hopefully, there's following through with the attorney to get clarification, because I think we need it on two fronts. Number one, the ordinance itself, but number two, can people continue to rent rooms without any form of licensing? So there's a lot of questions.
Well, the problems I see it with the state statute is it's very vague. Says renting of a room,
Correct. Correct.
doesn't say repeat renting every darn day. So,
It says renting a room. It doesn't say define whether that's long-term, whether it's more like a hotel room.
anyway,
So the state
But we're-
statute doesn't define hosting a room as public lodging. And that's where the difference is. While the ordinance, the Village of Biscayne ordinance says that a habitable, it describes a habitable room and mentions the word room, the state statute says otherwise.
yeah, I would like to see, the village, get clarity on this.
Yes.
Because, I mean, I can read this and interpret it a different way from the state statute. I mean, I
agree.
interpret this to be talking about long-term and not a for-profit, item. I mean, if I'm renting out a room to somebody to stay,
There's a difference between having a roommate,
Right.
which you anticipate being a long-term
Sharing the
situation, and you're sharing the home actually, versus a weekend rental.
for-profit.
But so at this point on the rooms, because it is described as a room, I think we have no choice. And my motion would be in case CEN 23-269 that we dismiss the case, because until the city gets clarification as to room rentals.
I'll second that with a little, well, and for the village to ensure that once clarity has been given, that the property owners of these properties are notified.
Right.
So, and if,
Absolutely.
and given a period to obtain a permit, and if not, then, recite.
Absolutely.
I'll second the,
All in favor?
aye.
Aye, motion passes.
Would it be possible for us just to discuss it for a moment? Because,
Please, sir. But you do realize
We have a long
no,
agenda.
no, but we've never listed our house. We're not looking for a roommate. We've never advertised it. So we're a little unclear where this comes from.
But sir, are you saying then somebody posted something on Airbnb
Yeah,
without your knowledge?
Exactly. And we'd love to see the photographs because maybe they got the address wrong, but we have a 2-bedroom home with the bed. It's not a split layout, so the doors are next to each other. We have no interest in having a stranger staying in the room next door.
I would think
I
not.
mean, to be,
I
so
would definitely think not.
we're a little
You're-
confused.
I'm sorry, I really, I neglected again to ask your name in relation.
I'm sorry, it's David Ash, my wife, Maria. She's the first name on,
Right. I
yeah,
see.
okay, sorry about that. That's not,
And is
that's
that your
not our
proper address,
house.
ma'am? Take a look at the picture, see if you recognize any of
It's not
that.
our house. No, the bathroom is not ours, and you're more than welcome to come visit us. We'll be happy to show you what the house looks like inside. Well, that's where it took them, but that's not our home.
The map brought us.
Right. Yeah, come by, have some wine.
Oh, it's dismissed.
Sorry for the inconvenience. It's dismissed. If we can move on.
So are we good now?
We're good.
Thank you.
You're good, sir. Thank you, ma'am.
Make sure you get that order as dismissal from the village.
Yes.
Our next case, 7G. That's 10716 Northeast 9th Avenue. Case number CEN-23-264. Ute Knight. Violation chapter 19.1.3, license required. On August 16, 2023, renting a room on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license on record and a fine of $1,000 remain unpaid as of the date of this notice.
This is the same situation. This is a room. So my motion would be that we dismiss, but that we get clarification from the village, and as Dale so well put, once that clarification comes down, that anyone who has been cited but is renting a room is notified if they are going to need to pull those licenses, given some time to do so, but if they don't, then we come back and recite. But at this point, my motion would be in CEN 23-264 to dismiss.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. Uta, sorry for the inconvenience. You're good for now.
Thank you. And I never rented the room anyway, but I have a question now. I deactivated the account. It was, I didn't even put it up, but it was not like in their case. A friend of mine put it up. He had my permission, but we never had the room open.
But you've taken it down.
It's down. So my question now for you, will you still notify me when it comes out, like what
When-
you're going to solve?
The clarification, yes.
Will you send me
Oh,
something?
you'll
and-
get an order of enforcement. Yes, and it shows that it's dismissed.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
So, and you will also look then on the side that I have deactivated the
Yes,
account?
we did check today.
You did?
Yeah.
Okay, got you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Uta.
Right.
Appreciate.
Okay.
Our next case, 7A, 690 Northeast 121st Street. Case number EEN 19-1565, Olivia Almagro. Violation 8.4, property maintenance. Failure to maintain property, exterior paint. Violation now is in compliance. Property owner requests for a fine reduction.
Yes, from what I remember the last time, the property owner wasn't present and the, request, for, the offer of $100 was denied.
That's correct.
And we wanted to see you because we do understand there's some extenuating circumstances. You are the property owner. It is a homesteaded property, meaning that you live there. And there are some hardship issues and we understand that. So we wanted to hear you and give you an opportunity to reconsider your offer. I hope you don't mind my talking. I was just recapping,
No, absolutely. Thank you.
to give you an opportunity to reconsider your offer.
Well, I want to say that the reason I wasn't here, I teach online. Well, I don't teach online, but the class that I'm teaching is offered online. And so when you guys have your meetings, I have class. if I cancel, I'm an adjunct. So when I cancel the class, I don't get paid for it. So it's either I come here, I don't want to get a $15,000 fine, or,
We
so-
appreciate you're here, and what we're asking, please, is.
No, I just wanted to
we-
explain because I don't want you guys to think
No, we
that I
know.
wasn't here because I was being neglectful and
Right.
just didn't care. Cause
I-
this has been really a stressful matter.
Okay, but there are those of us on this board.
You know.
There are those of us on this board who are new to this board who don't know the story and don't understand. So
Okay.
can I ask you to explain why it was 3 years in compliance?
Okay, so basically, the code enforcement that was, that approached me or, said that it was okay for me to pressure wash the house. It was done at that time. And it was fine. Far as I'm concerned, it was fine. And I don't recall getting notices. Now I'm seeing notices on the door quite frequently, but that was the initial contact, was that the house needed, and I said, well, and I explained to the code enforcement officer, I said, the bottom of the house is muddy because I don't have an awning. And so when it rains, it tends to get really muddy at the bottom and kind of moldy at the bottom, okay? And so I had it pressure cleaned and it was fine. It wasn't an eyesore. I live in the house. And I'm just like all the neighbors in here that are concerned about their property. I am equally concerned about my appearance of my home. It is an investment. It's my home. And so it wasn't bad. It wasn't, in my opinion, it didn't warrant this, if you don't get this done, because I've seen other homes in this neighborhood that are in far more worse condition. And I have done everything.
And we're only dealing with your home, please remember.
No, but I'm
Let's
just,
stick with that.
I am, but I just want to be able to express myself, and I'm explaining to her that it was resolved and that I did have someone pressure clean it. Now, most recently, because it's been 3 years, and since then, it has been pressure cleaned a few times. The last time when the guy was pressure cleaning it, it did get a little like, okay. And the guy and I did talk, and I was like, you know what? It is time to paint the house. So, yes. Now or prior, yes, it needed to be painted. But 3 years ago, no, it did not need to be painted. It needed to be pressure cleaned. And as far as I'm concerned, it was resolved. But again, prior to getting it painted and being compliant, yes, it had gotten to the point where it probably could go a few months, because I did get it pressure cleaned again. And I was like, I even said, I was like, you know what? It is time to get painted. Was it an eyesore? No. Did it require the state of emergency? No.
We really appreciate you are in compliance. So what we'd like to see tonight, knowing that we did not accept the 100, we'd like to see you reconsider and change your offer.
Okay. And so am I able to negotiate? Because I don't have $11,000.
Yes, ma'am, that's why you're here.
Okay.
I don't really negotiate. You just give us an offer.
Mhm.
We either accept it.
Consider it.
So are you gonna accept it? So am I gonna have to go through this process again?
No,
Can I
But if we
negotiate?
settle it tonight, no, ma'am.
Okay,
That's the joy of having you here, that if you make an offer that we don't think is fair,
okay,
given that it's been several years, then we can go back and forth.
okay, 250?
250 covers the administrative costs. So there was 3 years stop. So
But 3 years ago, sir,
No, I
respectfully.
was here.
Okay,
Yeah, we were,
Oh, so you
Two of
saw
us
the-
were
you
here,
saw
three
the
of us
house?
were here. I
Cause
think
I
we
have
all-
pictures.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm familiar with the property and
But I
what has
think,
been going on in the house. That's why I understand. And I'm very willing. Right now, 250 is just covers your administrative costs for over the year.
oh,
for
I
this
was,
coming
I
year.
was thinking the fine and then we talk about administrative costs, but that's fine. Either way, you're right.
Well, no, I mean, her offer would include everything,
Right.
unless she's offering 250 and 250 for the administrative costs. That's the total of 500. Because everything is lumped into one
Right.
thing.
But my problem with the 250, which I'm seeing at the moment, is strictly the fine. Dale, you make a good point. That's 4 years of administrative costs. I think we need to kind of be proactive too and make a suggestion as to how much you would view the fine and how much you would view the administrative costs.
Administrative costs are already
250.
good.
Yeah.
250, that's what the village has put down. And I would be happy with securing the 250 administrative costs of what this costs the village.
Okay.
Compare this multiple
Right.
times.
Right.
Then it's with regards to an offer for,
So
Or
is
fine.
it? I'm sorry, go ahead.
No,
Mm.
please.
I was just telling you where I was coming from.
No.
And I appreciate your offer. I just wanted clarity that 250, that's your offer in addition to the administrative costs, or that's just what you're offering?
That's what I was offering.
I would be likely to pay it. My
Mm.
personal one, you have a board of 3 others, only for purely because of the length of time and the amount of,
So what about my initial offer in addition to the 250?
you're offering 350.
350.
Yes.
I think that's fair. I think that covers the admin costs and an additional toward the time that it
Because,
took.
sir,
No, man, I understand your condition. I understand your situation and I fully understand and appreciate. That's why we wanted to do it, but I was just also for the village and we do order these administrative
Yeah.
costs for a reason. And
You figure at this point, our base fine is 250, our admin costs are 250. I think 350 in this case.
mainly,
Yeah.
you have been working with us over all the years. This is not your first time here. I appreciate that. And I know you've been trying. I know the pressure cleaning then came back and then that wasn't enough. Yes. And then a citation went out with a daily fine. I fully understand all of it. And I would make a motion that we accept the 350 offer.
I would second.
now, do I pay it right this second?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
You would get with the
Okay,
village.
I can. pay it.
Well, when,
Cause I don't have my
we're
card.
getting ready to put that be paid by, when would you be able to pay that?
I want to pay it tomorrow.
All right.
Are you sure
Tonight.
you're comfortable with
Wait a
that?
minute.
You're
Let me-
okay?
Let me
Uh-oh.
finish.
Don't speak too soon, cause then.
By November the 1st, will
Yeah.
that be fine?
Yes.
Okay, I'll make a motion to accept the offer of 350 to be paid by November the 1st. If not on November the 2nd, the
Original
reports
fine.
back to the original cost of 11,000.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0. So that's 350 total to be paid by November 1st, or else it will revert back to the original.
And what
Thank-
about the situation with the fence?
That's not before us.
It's not before us, so we're not.
Ma'am, I would suggest you
Hmm.
get with the code officers or the village. If it's not before us right now,
Can't talk about it, right?
Okay. Okay.
Call the officer. and
Okay.
walk you through.
And I have another, while I'm up here, I don't want to hold up everyone because I know everybody got to go. I had a complaint, and my neighbor, recently installed a pool.
Ma'am, I hate, we got a
Okay,
lot of
got it.
cases. That's some,
We have to deal on, we're-
Discuss it with code.
Send me an email about the.
Not at this
Okay,
meeting.
all righty, thank you. That's it? Do I need the paper?
thank you, Ms. Almagro. I appreciate it.
thank you.
All righty. thank you.
And it looks very nice.
Yeah, the house is good.
Oh.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Our next case, 8H. That's 10901 03 Northeast 10th Avenue, case number CEN -23-12, Luis Gutierrez and Maria Sabio. Violation, chapter 16.14, double permits. On January 18th, 2023, driveway was installed without first obtaining permits. At this time, the status is non-compliant, and we're asking the board to issue an order of enforcement.
So
They haven't pulled permits.
P and Z denied.
Right.
If you read on the backup, P and Z denied twice in February or just on the sixth? Did they go back a second time in February?
I believe they've only been once, P and Z.
So, and nothing's been done in the interim 8 months?
Right, this is a good example of why people should get permits before they do their projects.
Much.
Because they installed this driveway without permits, and when they went to get the after the fact permits after we issued the violation, P and Z told them that they couldn't accept what was submitted. And they gave them a list of things that they needed to submit. They haven't submitted any of that. I actually brought a package. I went to the building department and asked for the paperwork that they need to submit, and I'll be happy to give it to them today.
And that was, just for the record, that was back in April. was it?
Yes.
And now we're in.
And now in October, since April, there has been no discussion, there has been no movement. This case is stagnant.
It looks like the last communication, Raphael was explaining what they needed to do, and that was back in early April. Do we know why P and Z Planning and Design Review rejected them? Was it solely missing paperwork or not proper plans, construction issues? How in depth were the problems, I guess is where I'm going.
Yeah, maybe the gentleman can clarify what happened at planning and zoning, because I don't believe he was there at the time. Okay, Raphael will explain.
Thank you. On February 6th, 2023, they went in front of the Planning and Zoning Board and the permit was denied. And the reason was that they have not provided the driveway detail forms. They did not complete and sign the notarized application. And also the whole and harmless form was not completed.
But
So there were
the point
documents.
is, there is
was-
no plans detailing how this structure was made. Am I correct?
Correct.
So pretty much, yeah. Other questions?
No, you pretty much answered them. I'd like,
Sir, if you would identify yourself and your relationship to the property, please.
My name is Julio Fernandez. I'm a friend of Maria, and I'm gonna be translating, helping her to this process. In January, Maria made a driveway without permit. And then she got a notification, and then she asked, saw us, me and my wife, and say, we have a notice, say, wow, you need to pull a permit to do a driveway. you probably have to end up paying double of the, of the cost. And you have to submit the permit. So actually, there was an error done that the harmless form was not uploaded at the beginning. That was part because actually the project was done. The driveway was created. So there was no plan. So what we did is we hired and did the sketch, what they did, which is also in the system. And then we did the numbers and did the calculation. So we were yesterday up to Friday or last week, we were missing two papers. Actually, was the whole harmless and the calculation. So we uploaded to the system. It is on the system, those paper. I checked also today to make sure that they were there. Okay, so in January, we should, after the fact, remember this, in 18 was the violation. After the fact, we did open, submit the application, complete the application, the application. And also it is notarized. So, but they were missing two little papers that did not complete that application. And then we find out. Miss, I'm sorry, madam, there were not notification prior from January or February from the denial to her saying that the application was denied. There was not a notification. No notification was sent to her at her address. So therefore, all this time, 6 months, almost 8 months passed. And then that's when we see another okay, I've been showing in here that April 15. Do you receive a notification on April 15?
She answered this. This is her, this
Okay.
is her.
Yeah, but those are like what we,
Your communication with the building department.
okay, but
This is communication between her and the
yes.
building department.
yes.
And she answered on April 15, explaining that.
Good afternoon, we are unable, we are unaware. Okay, so if you read it, what I was saying is that they were not aware that to obtain the permit, and that's why the permit was obtained after the fact. So,
It hasn't been obtained.
well, actually, the application for the permit is on the system since January. Okay, right now, what I told Maria, just, there's gonna be two things they're gonna go ahead and do. They're gonna make you pay twice, whatever, they double the permit. They're gonna make you demolish the driveway, which we already drove by and see the same driveway, the same thing, and in other houses. So it's up to, I say, we here. Mhm. And that is done by inspector, right? Have you sent an inspector to do an inspection on that driveway?
Have a permit.
And
Okay,
you,
so-
you have a response, it's the owner's responsibility
Right.
to apply for the permit and then go through the process of inspection. As long as that permit is in planning and zoning and it hasn't been approved, no inspector is coming out there.
Okay, so we finished the two little thing that was missing, the whole harmless and the actually the previous was done, but was missing the right-hand side. No, ma'am, just.
I'll make a motion in case number CEN dash 23 dash 12 that a violation has occurred. That's administrative, a fine of $250, administrative costs of $250, and to have a permit pulled by, when does the planning? board-
Next P and Z meeting? December the sixth?
I'd like to
The
get
same as.
the second one, not the first one.
December the 6th is here.
Okay.
So November the sixth.
I'd give them till the next week. At least till like.
November
So,
22nd.
yes. November 22nd, to have a permit pulled by November 22nd. If not, a daily fine of $250 thereafter.
Aye.
Thank you. Then a daily fine of $250 will kick. I need to repeat that because I unfortunately didn't notice my mic was off. It's a $250 fine, $250 administrative fee, permit to be pulled by November 22nd, or a $250 daily fine.
Do we understand that the application and the permit now is on the ball of the city to go ahead and tell us,
No,
because
sir, you have to now come back to the city and ask when you would like to be heard by the Planning and Zoning Committee again. You have to come and make that appointment, not the city. You have to come to the office and then put yourself on the list to go and be heard by the Planning and Design Review Board. And they will decide, looking at what you've submitted, whether to accept it or not.
so when is the next planning and zone?
You'll have to come into the office, sir. They'll let you know which meeting you can
we
get
have-
assigned to.
We have until November 2nd, right?
Right.
No, sir, you have
So-
until November 22nd to have this completed.
Okay, so
So I
we do
would
have time
suggest
for the.
getting into the office very quickly, so they will let you know when you can be assigned to a planning and zoning meeting.
Thank you,
I
miss.
would not wait, please.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Ma'am, thank you.
Thank you.
Our next case, 8B, as in boy, 730 Northeast 121st Street. Case number CEN-23-388, Adele Chatua Anna. Violation section 5.6.1, off-street parking. September 13th, 2023, a red Dodge minivan was parked on the grass on the swale. At this time, they are partial compliance. A vehicle was removed from the swale. The fine was not paid, and the property owner is appealing the violation and the fine.
No, I was going, if I'm correct, I see the citation was given on the 13th and they requested review or something on the 19th, so within the 14th.
Right.
Contested it.
But if memory serves me correctly, when it comes to admin citations, it is at the discretion of the code officer. There is not a requirement for a warning or a courtesy notice. You have those 8 items
That's correct.
can be immediately cited. Am I correct?
That's correct.
Anybody have any questions?
Can I talk?
But right, if you would please, sir, your name and your relationship to the property.
My name is Adesh Twana. I'm the owner of the property. So it's like about this violation, it's like, it's not about like how much or whatever, but the problem is it comes right away like a violation. I never thought, or I know that you don't have the right to park like in your, next to your property, that because I have a parking lot, like my parking spot, like is fit like 4 cars. So I don't have problem with the space. It's just in my break time, like when I'm working like an Uber driver, when I come to home at this time, it's because the sun is like, is very strong. I take now like hour to get my lunch and all that and go back to work. So if I expose the car to the sun, it's gonna be too hot. So there is big tree next to me. I leave it there for 1 hour. That only, but usually when I have violation like this about, for example, the grass, whatever, hey, they tell you, listen, you are not allowed to park, or you have to cut the grass, you have a week, whatever. This is my thing, like, at least let us know, this is the rules. If we don't follow, you find me one time, next time parking there, we're okay about it. This is the only thing.
And I can appreciate that feeling, sir, but it is in fact up to the code officer's discretion. And I don't feel compelled to challenge the code officer when he did what was well within his rights. My fellow board members?
No, I was of the same opinion. Basically, it's the same as with trash cans being left
Yep.
out.
And we've always held the
The same
citation. Yep,
citation.
Yep.
Unless there was documented. evidence that
Right,
somebody else
right,
put it out.
right, of course. Are you testifying for? No. Are you testifying for this property, ma'am? Okay. No, I'm afraid not. Okay, are we ready for a motion?
Case number CEN -23 388. I found that, I'd like to reaffirm the, citation of $25.
Mhm.
Of $25 to be paid by, November the 1st.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries 4-0.
Okay.
Thank you, sir.
For 1 hour. For 1 hour. Even in Miami Beach, they don't charge me that. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Our next case, 7F 890 Northeast 118th Street, case number CEN-23-262, Lance Thomas and Elizabeth M. Thomas. Violation chapter 19.1.3, license required. On August 7th, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license on record, and a fine of $1,000 remain unpaid as of the date of this notice. Status, it's in progress and non-compliant. The property owner is appealing the fine and the violation.
The gentleman provided screenshots showing reservations, but my, be honest, reservation is, do we have anything from 2016 forward? The kind of timelines like have been provided to us in other cases to affirm that there were no rentals? Because my concern about and bear with us on this one, sir. My concern is the advertised but didn't rent issue is coming up rather frequently. There are a couple more tonight, very similar to that. So without some documentation, and even then it's shaky because of the way the ordinance reads, that even so much as advertising without a license is a violation. But without other documentation, I'm even more concerned, because you see how the others have the timeline where it'll
Yeah.
show active,
I
inactive.
made
whatever.
my notes the same thing.
Yeah.
There was no application of a rental since, to January 23rd, 2016. The property is homesteaded. Concerns,
Right.
but at the same time, it's active listing.
Well, the gentleman made it unlisted, but now I have to admit a certain amount of ignorance on the Airbnb platform. Why unlisted, sir,
Hey.
rather than taking it off?
Well,
completely?
The situation was it was listed and I had removed all availability, but I did not unlist it in 2016. So you could see it. That is exactly right. Advertised but not rented. It's not rented because I gave it no availability because it's not a rental at that point. Because it's 2016, we're about to have our second kid. We just weren't renting our house at that point. So that is more of an administration, I guess, clerical error on my part on the Airbnb platform is I removed all availability, but didn't unlist it. And so corrected that action, as I said in that email of, okay, see what happened here. But then also, you're right. I mean, what defines a rental? Is it the exchange of money? Is it the,
But the problem,
that's-
sir, the ordinance. Bear with me, let me get my ordinance and I can tell you exactly what it says. And because it's come up before. and
sure,
The
I'm sure.
critical
Yes.
thing is we have to be consistent in how we issue our rulings. We can't, one way and one the other. It reads, the advertising or advertisement for the rental of an unlicensed single-family or multifamily house or dwelling unit is direct evidence of offering a property for rent as a vacation rental in violation of subsection 19.1.3A. So that's where the problem comes in. Whether it was rented is not defined. It's just the act of advertising because it could be rendered. Now,
My other concern is if this is a homesteaded property and you're renting it out, you should be losing that homestead exemption, which brings your property's taxes up to today's market value, not at the protected rate of a homesteaded property. So if you leave it as an unrented but listed for rent, it sets you up for a tremendous amount of liability.
Fair point. The fact is that it hasn't been, we haven't used the property actively on Airbnb since 2016. So that's, yeah, fair
But-
point.
But
And-
if
and
Dade,
from this
if Dade
has-
County does the same thing we do and
Totally.
check it out, you're gonna be in hot water.
why I put this for a discussion item later,
Hmm.
not the only one. So
Sorry,
we-
I didn't even introduce myself. I'm Lance Thomas, one of the owners. And here is my youngest coming in. One of the reasons why it's not on Airbnb anymore. But yes, me and my wife are the owner of the property. I explained what it seemed to be situation is here is that it's, it was listed there, but without any availability. So yeah, I don't know. That's also then what's the definition of advertising? You could see it, but then if I selected a date, you're not gonna, it's not available. It's a good question. I mean, it's a really fair point, a difficult blurred line. I totally get that. I'm telling you what the situation is and honestly, and telling you that what the context of this case with my property, that's all I'm doing.
So when we issue the violations, we don't go into the details that you're asking about. When we see an active listing on one of the platforms, it's against the ordinance, and that's what we'll issue a violation for.
Yeah, because I was just looking, because I do see where it was, removed, and then reposted. So I mean, I'm ignorant too. I've never even stayed in Airbnb, so, reposting, I don't know what that means besides just.
Reposting is they're relisting the advertisement.
That's all. I do know a little bit
Please
about
see.
it. But, yes.
Rodolfo, Judy, anything else? Or we're ready for a motion?
Good. Well, I guess I'd like to make a motion then, case number CEN -23-262, that a violation has occurred and to reaffirm the fine of $1,000, $250 administrative,
It could be paid by.
paid by November the 1st.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Our next case, 8C, 741 Northeast 111th Street, case number CEN-23-48, Evangelos Sampanidis. Violation chapter 16.13, permits required. On February 27, 2023, exterior wall paint chipped, retaining wall cracked and needs to be repaired and painted. Status non-compliant, and property owner is requesting for a continuance. The property owner is the property owner is requesting for a continuance.
From, well, this is from 2000, from February of 2023, 27th.
He's already had 8 months.
Right, he had several violations. I'm not sure if you remember, he was here,
Yes.
right? And those violations were all taken care of. It was for the fence, the swimming pool had to be secured and all that, and he did everything. So with this one, he has to paint the wall, so he has to get the permit and go through the process. So he was asking for more time. He can explain, right?
Yes, good evening. My name is Evangelos Sabanidis. I'm the property owner. I have submitted all the papers for the painting of the house exactly on the same color. The only thing that I don't have yet is the notarized application. All the digital scrubs of the paint, of the color, of the existing color and everything. Also the pictures of the walls, the picture of the main door and the picture of the garage door together with the house as well. And I have everything here as well with me. My problem was that I was not able to upload the notarized paper online. And I guess I need to come to the office building to have it notarized and maybe ask someone to assist me on submitting everything. And I'm not gonna change the color, nothing. And I have also for you, if you want to see the type of the color, it is like off-white kind of, like antique white, it's called antique white.
Which means if that's the color he's picking, he's not likely to need to be in front of the planning and design review. But sir, you're asking for an extension. You've already had 8 months.
Yeah.
It's February. The notice of violation was given February 27th.
Yeah, I understand. There were several violations.
Other than to get this paperwork turned in, I don't understand why you'd need more of an extension. You've had 8 months.
I have done a pressure cleaning of the house before, as well as of the roof, and I thought that it was okay. But I guess when I need to get the complete permit for painting.
Right. But what does this mean, intent to lien? If you
Right,
don't-
why
you
is
have
that
a-
intent to lien rather than order of enforcement?
On which one? This case?
On the cover
Yeah,
sheet?
it said recommendation, intent to lien, and I just didn't understand.
Yeah, on the
Oh,
cover
that's a
sheet.
mistake, absolutely.
That's what I figured.
So basically, it was
We
just,
have those on a couple. We have those on a. couple.
okay. But other than that, I have no,
I have no other questions.
question.
Judy, Rodolfo?
There's no other question, and given the testimony, I'd like to, in case number CEN 23 to find that a violation has occurred, assess a fine of $250, give the property owner until
It's the eighteenth of
No.
15th, perhaps?
November 15th to obtain a permit. If not, on the 16th, commence a $250 fine. I mean, daily fee fine. So
You're
that's,
doing an admin?
yep, I'll just
Sorry.
recount. $250 violation, $250 admin, straight-up fee, and a daily fine of $250 if permit's not acquired by November the 15th.
I'll second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0. So you understand that would be,
It's $500 pay like
Correct.
this week and then,
and the permit needs to be
Yeah.
obtained by
Yeah, I mean-
November 15th.
yeah, I mean, I have all the pictures, everything, because I was not able to download it on the computer system. There was like difficulty. Maybe my computer was not working properly. That's why, but I have all the pictures here, the view of the house from the street and everything, but. Okay, thank you.
All right, thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good day.
Thank you very much.
Our next case, 8A 655 Northeast 116th Street. Case number CEN -23-279. Mariger Figueroa. Violation, chapter 19.1.3, license required. On September 7th, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license/permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license application on record for short-term or long-term rental. A fine of $1,000 remains unpaid as the date of this notice. Status, no license application, a fine has not been paid, non-compliant. And the property owner is here to appeal the violation and the fine.
It looks like there was a documented stay in August of 2022 and August of 2023. And this property is also claiming homestead.
May I talk?
We'll let the
Go ahead.
board members
Yeah.
have their questions.
I'm fine.
Indeed, Rodolfo. If you would, ma'am, identify yourself and your relationship to the property.
Yeah, I'm Maria Figueroa and I'm the owner of the house. What happened is like maybe around July or August.
Please, ma'am, the mic.
Oh, around July or August, I came to the office of Village of Biscayne Park to ask what were the requirements to do this. And she mentioned to me, the lady, that she needed, that I needed a license in order to rent it as an Airbnb. Specifically, I asked her. So, okay, so that's what I thought. To rent as an Airbnb, I need a license. So I did like the listing, which takes a little bit of time or whatever it is. So I listed, but I never got any of the requests. I have proof of the request that I declined because I wasn't ready to rent it. And that's what that's what I thought when I talked to him. I also have proof of, there's somewhere in the app that I didn't print it because when you print it, it doesn't tell your name or anything like that, but I can show to the board that the earnings of Airbnb has been 0 to this year, or never, really. So I just posted a house, just posted the pictures and I was just kind of seeing, what was all about because I really haven't really known an Airbnb.
The backup documentation shows 2 documented stays, one in August of last year and one in August of this year.
Of
And
August of what? Of this year?
Mhm.
This year, I haven't, we can show it.
yeah, last,
No, that's a different problem. This little thing right here, I believe is Was this part of, that's why I had it tapped. Was this
Yes.
part of this property?
No,
That's why I thought.
Okay.
this.
And we do have August of 2022, though. Okay, thank you, Joe. Good catch.
But this is not her property.
Property
This
is
is not
this
the-
one, right?
The last one, the one of this year is not applicable to this property.
Is this one yours?
Pages.
No, it's, yeah. That one was for the other property. I just had a gentleman over there. That wasn't. his. It's
Okay,
this one.
there was one from August of last year.
That's-
Okay. And again,
But the listing was active until quite recently because I looked it up.
Yeah, I actually unlisted as soon as I got this notice because it really kind of like I wasn't ready. I saw like the requirements, what she sent me. And well, because it's a whole process that you have to do in order to do this, right? You have to post pictures, you have to get like some input from this is,
I still have to bottom line it.
Eh.
Whether it's rented or not, if it's advertised, it's in violation of the applicable code.
but that's what, because I noticed the code that you guys sent, this is starting happening as of last year, right? Or I don't know,
And a
2022
license was
April.
required last
Right.
year.
No, I understand, but when the notice, I got the notice on the mail last year when everything started for Airbnb. And then it said, in order to rent the house, you need a license. So, and when I came here recently and double checked, I need a license. And again, I have proof that if we go to the application, it hasn't been rented. There's no income at all for this house. I just didn't, and I actually unlisted it because after I looked at all the permit requirements, it's quite a bit of a,
I think
Wow.
we're ready for a motion.
Yeah, basically, it's the same issue as the previous resident. And in case number CEN 23-279, find that a violation has, I'd like to reaffirm the fine of $1,000 and assess the administrative costs of $250 be paid by November. the
plus,
1st.
1,000 plus.
I'll second.
Yes,
Yes.
first.
November 1, the $1,000 permit fee and the $250 admin fee. Or the fine, rather, excuse me, the $1,000 lack of
Fine.
permit fine.
Now, let me ask you something, because and I understand, and as the gentleman over there, as well as me, there may be many others, and $1,000 for what I'm hearing around here, there's people that's been, not doing driveways, not doing anything, and they're paying $250. I understand the $1,000, and it's just a suggestion to the board that if there's revenue or, maybe you're making profit off of it, but if you can demonstrate that it was never rented, some sort of, hey, I never made a dime out of this,
Ma'am, as you were here when I read the applicable part of the ordinance, right? It does
Yes.
say, once advertised as rental.
I
That's a
unfortunately
violation.
didn't read the ordinance because I came here and I spoke to the lady. She told me you need a license in order to rent it. I was never said you need a license in order to advertise it in the system. I was never rented, not a dime to it. and it-
Advertising constitutes the ability to rent.
Right, but it's not renting.
Violation that's specified.
Violation.
The violation does. But now when I came here to ask informally, hey, how do you, what do you need?
But
You need a license to
We don't
rent.
know that. There are occurrences. Super Bowl comes up. People rent their house on Airbnb that live there full time for a week, a night, or 2
Wow,
weeks. and
right.
Then they just move out, lock up. I have friends in Palm Beach who do this.
I got it.
But that's their primary home. They just go on vacation themselves
And that's
and
what
it's paid for. That's because there's an active listing and they
Mm-hmm.
can just open it and close it.
yeah, but then if you show a document that comes from Airbnb with the
can't.
shows no earning, is showing that it wasn't never rented.
That doesn't mean that tomorrow you won't open it up and rent it out because there's a Super Bowl game going on.
But I will be fined
I know,
1,000
but-
fee.
And the ordinance says
We appreciate it.
that you are preparing to rent it by advertising. So advertising,
We understand. Yes, ma'am. No, the
Minimum.
$250 is the minimum. Administrative costs is from bringing it before the boards, just like if you go to traffic court, there's administrative court. You're welcome. Sections 8D.
D or
D should be D, I believe.
Yeah, I think if we just go down the list now,
Yeah, exactly.
D, E, G, and then I and J.
Our next case, 8D. 845 Northeast 116th Street. Case number CEN-23-93. Mushi Raka Trust, Mushi Raka and Ergia Raka Rev Trust. Ergia Raka Trust. Violation chapter 19.1, license required. On March 20th, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license/permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. There's an application on record for short-term. Fine of $1,000 remains unpaid as of the date of this notice.
Obviously, by the fact that he's got the application, he's admitting he's been renting it, so this one is pretty clean.
Right, and it's a non-homesteaded property, is active listening with documented stays, and there's no questions.
My
Right.
my motion would be that we sustain the $1,000 fine, an additional $250 administrative fees to be paid by November 11th. I'm sorry, November 1st.
Second,
Now, is this an intent to lien? Because
Or file the intent to lien. Sorry. Thank you, Judy. Yes, this one is an intent to lien. All in favor?
Aye.
I,
Motion passes 4-0.
Our next case, 8E. That's 1035 Northeast 114th Street. Case number CEN-23-268. Joel Disberger, Christiana Fargio, Lovensky. Violation chapter 19.1.3, license required. On August 18, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license/permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license application on record for short-term or long-term rental. A fine of $1,000 remains unpaid as of the date of this notice. Status non-compliant. And the property owner is asking for a request for a continuance.
Oh, no, he's saying he pays a fine next month, and that's the date we've been given is November.
well, given this, maybe we can
A
make
little
the
later, like the
second week,
15th,
like the
like the
15th,
15th, yeah.
yes.
this is also a property that's homestead.
Uh-huh.
That's really not, I mean, when you bring it up, which is great, but that's the property owner's an issue. Yeah, we're gonna
Daycare.
have a discussion.
Right. Yeah.
That's just gonna have a discussion, because, I know there's, with homestead property, there's different things, so, you know.
Alright.
That's not. us to lump.
If-
So
if
this
we're ready
owner says
for-
that he's putting this house on Airbnb for short-term rental to raise money for the mandatory driveway update.
Well,
Just wanted to add that in there.
But, okay, in case number CEN 23-268, a violation has occurred, we would affirm the $1,000 fine plus $250 admin fees to be paid by November 15th, or the village files the intent to lien.
second.
All in favor?
I.
Aye. Motion passes 4-0.
Our next case, 8G. That's 1110 Northeast 119th Street. Case number CEN 23 311. Adriana,
You go further. I believe this may be the one that my husband, Bob Anderson, alerted code to. Now, I don't have to recuse myself, but I do have to say, I think he'd seen some heavy equipment and therefore alerted code to it. We had no discussion because he has no idea what was going on over there, but he did make the initial report, so I do have to state that.
Correct. You don't need to make the motion. I
No.
guess somebody else can make the motion.
Right, no,
Yes.
right, but I don't have to recuse myself, but I do have to say that.
Okay, I did bring the form if you want to fill it out. I don't have to. You don't have to.
I did that last time because I knew too much about that case. That was that case, if you guys remember back several months ago. I knew too much about it. I had spoken to the caretaker. That would not have been a good thing. This I know Zippo, except he said there was some equipment there.
Okay. I don't think this is another one where it's not an intent to lien, what I saw. But, if there's no questions, it appears to me that a violation occurred and I'd like to make a motion.
Yes.
I'd like to make a motion.
Then or-
It's number CEN 23 311 that a violation occurred. Assess a fine of $250 plus administrative costs of $250. Pull an after the fact permit, the double permit fee that has to go between P and Z, correct?
Mm-hmm.
And we were doing,
Like the 15th of November. It would give him like 2 meetings.
the last one we did November the 30th, again, because the 6th, they're probably not gonna make. Comply by, no, yeah. Pull a permit by November the 30th or $250 day fine thereafter.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes 4-0. That's 250 fine, 250 admin, double permit to be pulled by November 30th or 250 daily.
Now, in light of the fact that the homeowner is not here, we do send that to them. They know that.
our next case, 8I 10911 Northeast 9 Court, case number CEN 23 82. Branca Amaral. Violation, chapter 19.1.3, license required. On March 20th, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license/permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license application on record for short-term or long-term rental. Fine of $1,000 remains unpaid as of the date of this notice. Status non-compliant, and the property owner requests for a continuance.
Okay. I have no problems continuing, but I do have a question. Does it still have an active listing with, ongoing with, let me see, that's just with March, the last one. Do you know?
No, there's no active listing. I checked, but however, she's an attorney and she really wanted to come to clarify the law because she understood this very differently. So I did give her the opportunity to come to the hearing this December 6th.
I'm sorry.
She has a bereavement in the family.
Listing isn't active or is active?
It's not.
Not active. But it was.
It was at the time we issued the.
Yeah, I have
bond.
no problem. So we.
Yeah.
I'll make a motion that in case number CEN 23-82, we allow a continuance until the December 6th meeting.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Motion passes 4-0.
Our next case,
I'm sorry, I know it's over, but
That's okay.
is this one that was just a room also? So I'll make my note.
Or see, it's a duplex, so it could be a one.
Ah, because I was looking at,
I thought. the
Says
same
it
thing you
offers
did.
a kitchen, Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so it has to be I thought that same thing because, whoa, wait a minute. But when by it offering all of that, I figured that might duplex, it's just a one bedroom side.
Entire guest suite. That's not just.
Yeah. Okay.
Our next case, 8J 12020 Northeast Fifth Avenue. Case number CEN 23 260. Marika M. Mataline. Violation chapter 19.1.3, license required. On August 4th, 2023, renting a property on a short-term basis without first obtaining a license permit from the Village of Biscayne Park. No license application on record for short-term or long-term rental. Fine of $2,000 remains unpaid as of date of this notice. Status non-compliant, and the property owner is requesting for a continuance.
okay, I do have a question. This has already been cited once before for
Yeah.
this
She's
property,
got
right?
choice.
This is the second time.
Uh-huh.
Okay, and it's still, do you know if it's currently being rented out? We know when the last rental was it after, well, I guess it was after the first sighting. Right, I remember she was here.
So she was advertising, put it down when you say to the violation. And put it back up.
Well, she was here, you affirmed $1,000 for the first offense, she paid $1,000. And then she put back the advertisement without coming in to get the permit.
But it says she still owes to.
No, this is the second violation.
Oh, that's right. So it's
Hey.
two. I'm sorry.
Then she went back.
Sorry.
and she did
The second one is two.
Yeah.
Right, we're not doubling, it's,
Maybe
is
she
true.
assumed that the $1,000 was the permit.
same difference.
I mean, yeah.
I need to
Yeah,
shut up. I need to shut up. She's asked for a continuance.
I'll make a motion to
Yeah.
continue the case until November hearing,
December.
December hearing.
I'll second. All in favor? Right. I think have we heard every case?
Yes.
Before I forget, because I will, we have to vote on Michael's absence.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Thank Doreen for reminding me because I have a bad habit of forgetting. I always think we do that at the next meeting. No,
Nope.
we have to do it. I would make the motion to,
Well,
Raphael, have you heard from Michael? Nothing? I'm sorry, somebody. Uh-huh. Oh, okay.
you know, did he, wait a minute, I vaguely remember that he was saying he may be going to Italy because his son was over there helping neighbor's son move and had been over there. and that he may be good over there.
But he had to turn that into the clerk.
Yeah.
and it had
Yeah,
to
no, I'm only saying I vaguely remember because we were talking about
Sure,
Italy and,
sure.
and I didn't know when they
All
were
he
going.
would've had to do is turn that into the clerk and we're good. Enjoy your time in Italy.
Right.
But unfortunately, I have to make a motion that Michael Linot's absence because he didn't let the clerk know, there is no documentation, is unapproved.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, motion 4-0. Have we done every case? Are we good? Okay.
Yes, all cases are completed.
That leaves, I'm sorry,
No, all cases are completed.
that leaves,
Next,
Yeah.
our next item would be discussion of swimming pool safety barriers.
we'll do the discussion first. I'm fine with me. All right, why don't we get the minutes hopefully over with, and I apologize because I have got quite a few changes. Okay, first of all, in the minutes, I went back and looked at several months past minutes, always underneath the address and case number and name would be the violation. Because simply to say, a motion was made that the violation occurred, well, what violation? And really minutes, you guys, that's like everything. That's critical. Because people might pull public records request of minutes before they'll go watch a whole video. So that's something on every single one of them that I would really like to see back in there to lend continuity. But in addition, there are several, for example, agenda item 6A, B, and C should say not just that there needs to be compliance by October 4th, but if there isn't compliance, the village is to file an intent to lien, because that's an integral part. If there's, okay, that needs to be compliance by October 4th, but if there isn't, then what? And feel free to stop me if you guys disagree. If you have something else you want to say, please.
No, that is very integral. And like I said, I was going back and forth on my notes. The first comment you made, because I had it on my notes of what I was looking at. It was just blew me by because it was at the end of the day at work and I was
Gonna say, you have a real job.
sort of skimming through it, getting the pertinent things.
Sure.
Okay, and this also, I just,
Then in 6D, part of the thing that we stressed was that that could no longer be rented. I believe it was an RV. And I think the fact that it cannot be rented needs to be within the minutes, because that was a pretty important thing that we stressed to them, because remember, they were renting to Ukrainians, et cetera. So we made that point.
well, yeah, well, you can make the point, but it's redundant because it's not within code. So you can tell them all you want if it's not to be rented. If we don't tell them, it's still.
Well,
a
okay, all
violation
right,
of
that's fair,
code.
that's fair.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, but then also go down to 6F, we gave them until September 25th to have the occupants unoccupied, because they were occupied, and he asked for time to have them, find other living accommodations. So I think that needs to be in 6F. And, oh, sure, in 6F, part of our motion was that by September 25th, that could no longer be occupied. See, it has nothing, let me back up before I make it completely crazy. The words, in addition, a building permit, et cetera, don't belong with this. 6F was had nothing to do with building. Six F was the recreational vehicle being used as living facilities. So that has nothing to do with pulling a building permit. So everything from the words in addition to
Copy and paste from somewhere.
full compliance by September 25th or needs to go away because it's got nothing to do with this. But what we did say was there cannot be anybody living in there. They need to be moved into other living facilities by September 25th or a $250 daily fine.
And yeah, so occupants, be,
Vacated.
yeah.
Right, right. Now you see why I wanted to make
Yeah.
this at the end. I don't think anybody in the audience would have
No,
appreciated this
no.
at all.
No, this is the property. Place.
Okay, 6G. After the full compliance, et cetera, you need to put, or a $250 daily fine will be assessed. On 6I, Dale, wasn't that you and Judy, or were my notes screwy as
Look,
far as
man,
making the motion?
I don't have my notes.
Because I don't think it was me. I have on, I say 6I, I have,
Well, vice
Judy.
chairman would be Dale.
yeah, exactly, so that
So
was,
it's probably.
and Judy, it is Judy.
So who made the motion?
On 6I, it would have been Dale who made the motion
Dale?
and Judy who made the second.
Wow. Did you wrong?
Okay, it's getting a little simpler, I promise. On 6J, K, and L, we need to add the or $250 daily fine. Then on 6O, that whole blurb that starts with, in addition, the property owner down to October 25th, 2023, that needs to be part of 6M, because that's where we put the requirement for the fence. We put that under case 303.
Right.
You can see it even says reference 23-303, so that blurb should just go up there to 303. Okay. And on 6S, V, W, X, and Y, the intent to lien has to be added if they're not in compliance. Believe it or not, I'm done. Thank you, everybody, for your patience. Anybody else have changes or disagreement with anything? Okay. I think we need, I would make a motion that we table these minutes until
Yeah.
December.
I'll second the motion.
All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
I think we're on to discussion items.
Go real quick. So the discussion item is another Village of Biscayne Park Code versus the state statute. We had received complaint for a swimming pool that was not secured at 11728 North East Sixth Avenue. And for sure, when I went to inspect the property, I had no idea there was a swimming pool there. I did find that the pool wasn't covered. So I did some research into why that pool was allowed to be that way. because it was very unusual to have a swimming pool like that. And during my research, I spoke with the building official and he referenced the state statute. The state statute does allow for a swimming pool. If you go to Florida State Statute 1515.27B, it does allow for a swimming pool to be equipped with an approved safety cover as a safety measure. Our ordinance doesn't say that. However, our the building department, building official, they use the Florida Building Code for their inspections. This was a newer pool, so when it was inspected, it did meet the requirements for the Florida Building Code, which is to cover the swimming pool with a cover that I've put the pictures in there.
What, yeah, let's say, what,
Normally, our code also holds. And our code calls for, doesn't normally our code, I mean, if we're only going by state codes, why do we even have our own codes?
Yeah, they did. Yeah,
This is frightening.
yeah, we found some things in our code that sometimes not, I wouldn't say conflict, but sometimes are in opposition with what.
I have to tell you.
It should
That-
be whichever is more stringent.
This
That's
is-
normally what you
statute.
get.
Downright scary.
Right.
No.
I mean, first of all, it's so easy for that cover just simply not to ever be there. Whereas those of us with fences are not in the habit of leaving our fences wide open. But if you're going in and out of your pool all day, maybe you're going in the house, you're doing this, that, you're not covering and uncovering and covering and uncovering. You're leaving the damn thing uncovered.
Right, and when I did go to the property, the net wasn't there, so I did have a meeting with the owner. And I explained to her that while the statute had allowed her to have the swimming pool like that, she would need to have that cover over the swimming pool at all times when they're not using.
I'm sorry, our building codes should cover it as well, not just the state code. Our codes can be more stringent than the state, and we don't have to back off of that. And
Sure, I can run it by the attorney.
I think that that's unacceptable.
I mean, I try to avoid saying, can we run this by the attorney? But this one needs to go.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean,
Because there's many instances where our codes are more stringent than the state codes.
look at
And that's why we have our codes, driveways.
this, that sucker's going right in.
And what is the leading cause of death for children in the state of Florida is drowning in the neighbor's swimming pool. No. And I think the building official is wrong to look at state code only. I think that is absolutely unacceptable.
I
And
will give my full disclosure. I did call it in.
I know.
Because when the resident was here for the Airbnb issue,
Mhm.
she had mentioned she had a pool.
I
I'm
didn't-
familiar with the property and that I looked at it when it was for sale and there had no pool.
It's a new pool.
Yeah, just so happens, a friend of mine, she was asking, she goes, why isn't there a fence around the pool? And I'm going, I don't know. I said, there has to be if there's a
A
pool.
barrier.
So I did walk over and then I didn't see a fence and I'm
Right.
going, And then I felt moved to, my friend wouldn't call it in.
Well, I was there when you called.
Yes, my friend would not call it in. So I said, and I tried, I said, listen, you have to, I can't,
Right.
I
so-
shouldn't rather. And then, so if it was going to come up, I was just going to.
No, that was fine, but I looked at it and I was like, I'm gonna bring this as a discussion item because usually in where statutes for the state are concerned, they usually overpower municipality codes. So, so if we
No.
don't have it in our code, the building official would just default on the state statute.
But we do have it in our codes.
What, right,
So I don't,
have the cover, we don't have the cover
You
as,
just made a really good point. If we're only going to follow state statutes, why do we have any codes? Why bother? And but I'm sitting here looking at this thinking, I really don't give a damn what the Florida statute says. What owner in their right mind would not be terrified at the liability of something as simple as this,
Me-
not do the right thing.
Even in Massachusetts, where not everybody has a pool, my cousin had a pool, they made him put up a fence, not only around the property, but around the pool.
Yes, some require that both. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I'll look into it a little more to see if there are many more swimming pools that have been approved with just
I don't
covers.
understand, but if our building official is doing this, our attorney needs to know that.
You guys, look at this up close.
It's a mess.
It's what, right?
It's a mess.
That's all it is. It's a net. It's not a cover.
It's a mess.
When you
Well,
say-
the building official, and I'm not speaking on his behalf, he's governed by the Florida Building Code. And if
But
the
he also-
code, and if the Florida Building Code says that that's okay, then he doesn't have any power to say it's not.
I'm sorry, if he's being hired by Biscayne Park, he should be governed by our code too.
do I have consensus that we will ask staff to please spoke the
Absolutely.
attorney for his?
Absolutely.
Absolutely, because I don't see why do we have a building official that we're paying if he's not going to uphold our codes?
Right, if he's every time he's got to do something, going to look to Florida state codes. Now, if the attorney comes back and says, whether you like it or not, you legally have to do that. Okay, fine. I won't like it, but I can understand. that.
But why do we have any ordinances?
That could be anything.
Anything?
I agree. That's why we need, again, I try to avoid saying it off to the attorney, but please send it.
Oh, no, there's a lot of stuff now that we are bringing to the attorneys for clarification.
It's
because
frightening. Oh my God, that's frightening. I think of my nephews when they were babies. You know, now they're 6'12" and whatever, but
I can't understand any owner not feeling responsible that a neighbor's kid could run
Exactly.
across the
Oh
street.
my
and
God.
get it. Kids disappear so fast.
and Florida is the most litigious state on the planet. Why would you not want to cover your, excuse me, tush by having a fence? I don't get it. But while
And how does your insurance allow you to not have a fence?
while we're on the subject, total transparency, I took this last night. This property, if you drive down 120th Street, where it dead ends into 11th Avenue, you will see this. You have to see it from the back anyway, so I would suggest go on 120th Street, turn right at 10th, drive to the end of the street, you will see that. It's off 11th Avenue. Yeah. And you can see the pool is free.
That's mosquito hazard, that's health hazard, somebody.
Yeah, we'll check.
I mean, I try to avoid this, you guys, I really do, but when it comes to a safety, I am not going to avoid it. I mean, I know if it comes before us, I have to walk out the door, and I will, but that's safety. And that's not an area you're going to routinely think to go to. So if Bob and I were out walking last night, and it's like, oh my God. And
Yeah, we'll check it out tomorrow.
and then a green pool, I mean, again, a kid can fall in, forgetting even there's so many kids, because that little block, there is partial fence, but that whole big hunk is out. There's a partial fence, but a whole big chunk is gone. And 120th Street in that block from 10th to 11th is loaded with kids. And they're always playing because it's a dead end street, so like nobody's ever on the street. All you'd need is some little kid to go to the attractive nuisance and somebody gets badly hurt. Great, I'm sorry, okay. Can we go to the next? or-
Yes.
Anything else? Then?
No, that was it.
My question quickly on homesteaded properties, we are seeing a significant amount of them rented as Airbnbs claiming homestead. Are you guys keeping track and forwarding that to someone to please move on to the county with that? The city's got to be losing significant sums of money.
Right. So I don't know what I guess we should probably ask our attorneys again, how we go about contacting the property appraiser's office to figure that out. I would think there's a
The
legal.
clerk should know that. The clerk should have no problem knowing it. I don't even think the attorney need to be involved.
All right,
If she, remember, our current clerk came from North Miami Beach, so she
Right.
has some pretty big background. She should certainly know.
all right.
Doreen, that is critical. I mean, just
Now,
the few properties that we, well, not few, but just seeing the properties that we've seen that are rented as Airbnbs and claiming homestead,
instead,
that's a significant revenue loss for the city.
Yes.
right.
So, yes.
We will definitely bring it up. It's just that like they always saying, some people live in their homes, they'll live it for a week and rent it for a week. Now,
That just
can they still have it homesteaded and
Right,
rent it for the
right.
week?
But I'm talking about these people that are literally renting.
Right.
Period.
Yeah.
And it's homesteaded.
It's,
Well, for
a-
example, one who lived in admittedly lived in California.
Oh, yeah. Yes, 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 right.
Yeah. And both properties were homesteaded, and I noticed that. And then she claimed her mom lived in the other one, but it's your name on there, it's homesteaded, and the other one is homesteaded. And she works in California.
and that's illegal.
Very.
Well,
That's very
Well,
illegal.
we would have to prove that it's not her primary residence, because she would say, I only go for work and that is my primary residence, because I think the law says it has to be your primary
You have
residence,
to live there at least 6 months.
right?
Yeah.
Well, it really wouldn't be anything village.
It would be the county and the county.
Should be. About it.
Yes, no.
I'll find out.
Because, it's not legal, one, and number two, from a purely selfish perspective as a taxpayer, we're paying more in taxes for the people that aren't paying what they're supposed to be. One more quick item, you guys. I know the theory has always been in dealing with fine reductions, we basically don't say a word and we let the property owner kind of keep talking. I'm going to respectfully ask Doreen, how do you find it done in other cities? Because we've had people say to us, well, in fact, I've even had one of the former attorneys say, we should be also counter offering, saying something. How is the process in other cities?
So usually what I've seen in other cities is code would recommend an amount to the board. The owner will come up and say, this is what I can afford, but we would recommend, because we do the work. We do we do the inspections. We know how many times we've been there. We know how much paperwork, how much mailings have gone out to the property. And we would suggest to the board, do it out of $500 just because this case has been going on for so long. But in the village of Biscayne Park, I've been reluctant to do that just because I wasn't here. I've only been here for a short period of time, and I don't know how much work was done. Like this particular case for this lady, it stalled for a very long time. So part of it was not her fault. Part of it was code never followed up on things that should have been followed up. So that's where I'm reluctant to push to bigger amounts.
Right, and I realized there were issues. That's why I was at least looking to cover, because it has
Just
been here
administrative.
even
several
before you were here, many times before. And repeat, I mean, because there was sometimes wasn't present.
Right.
And we hear it the second time. So many of the cases that came before us were seen multiple times before they were actually heard. So the same issues were bringing. That's why I was looking for at minimum of the,
Right,
well,
right.
at least the administrative fee, and then
Right.
what were you gonna offer? There was a period where the village did offer a suggestion, a recommendation of what would be acceptable. That was generally if it was above what the, what the resident was
Minimum,
asking,
right.
a minimum, and, separate from what the resident had offered. So.
I think back to, and Gail, I think you're the only other one on the board that will remember this, the case where we had the mother and daughter and those negotiations, we were on Zoom then, went on forever and everybody ended up screaming at each other and it just got ugly. And that's why I'm thinking we have to take some level of proactivity, because somebody can throw out a number. We don't have to agree with it, but at least for us to take some proactivity in terms of suggestions so that these things, this went quickly. She conducted herself very professionally. I think we ended up very well. But that doesn't always work that way. And
And but I'm not comfortable with taking 1% of what her fines were.
No, I.
Some
To me,
some
it should
cities
be
do
somewhere
25% of
between
their
10 and 25.
Generally, we've been accepting a minimum of 10%. You don't know the full story of this one. There were a lot of
Right.
issues where
Right.
there was miscommunication. It was a period where we had multiple code enforcement officers
I do
coming
know.
in.
giving her okays, right?
Information provided was a little different. She's had a hardship all along, and,
Which is why I deferred to you guys.
The only reason I have a problem with giving hardship when it comes to fine reduction too big of credence is twofold. Number one, we can't prove it. So anybody can say hardship, and it's kind of like saying, oh, if you don't claim hardship, so you get to pay more than the person who does. So, I mean, that, we have to weigh in on that, but I feel like Judy, 4 years merited more, but I knew this was gonna drag on forever, so.
3 years.
So.
It's 3 years.
Feels
too
like
long.
4.
Yeah, yeah.
Out of those three, now I
Oh,
will,
that's right, because we heard it.
Still going, yes.
September. The fine, I'm going only by the fines.
Okay, then you're right,
It
3
says,
years.
you know,
3
when the
years, you're
fines
right.
started accruing on until they ended. No, I'm just going from, I know
You're
this
right,
case
when we heard it.
very, very, very well, and, but generally, we have minimum would be 10% is what we.
Agree.
I would think so.
And it all depends on the,
Has to be the severity.
well, the
of violation.
severity and if the resident had been cooperating.
Right.
Right. you know, Throughout, even though they may not have mitigated their
Issue.
the issue, they had been somewhat cooperative and,
Well,
and
any final thoughts?
Good job.
Motion to adjourn. Thank you, everybody.
Thank
motion to
you.
adjourn. I'll
I'll-
second.
All in favor? Thank
Aye.
you all very much.
Did you write who did the motion to adjourn? Dana. Okay. Thank you.
Here's some
Paper.
pictures, and that was the for that one spot. Yes. It's more as a, more I made 5 pounds of grits, and I'll be doing it's 60 sausages. No.
Oh.
And